Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 665 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. James Taylor. And if you want to hear our conversation about practice growth and development, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have James Taylor coming in from the Dallas Fort Worth area. We were talking about some cool stuff offline, working through some technical issues on my end, and those are all resolved now. And we were just talking about how the travel world with airlines and all that make things a bit challenging to stick to schedules. So that's a little bit of the introduction, but I'm going to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We can see where that is a huge issue. Sometimes it peaks and valleys, but that's very important to us. And medical freedom, family health freedom, those things are definitely the cornerstones of why we do this show. Because if you don't know where to go for those concerns and those that clarity, find a chiropractor in your city and go and knock on their door and say, hey, what do I do for my family's health? And those doctors are going to be like, whoa, how did you even think about this? So you're going to go find your tribe there. We also get a bit more philosophical. We protect BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. If you don't know what that is, go check out our show notes. I'll tell you all about it. But it was BJ Palmer's last words. He was the developer of this profession of chiropractic. A bit more philosophically, I don't like saying this, but we have to. Because they're taking these words out of the colleges: subluxation, innate intelligence, universal intelligence. This is real philosophy when it comes to this profession. We have to bring this back to the schools. So if you know somebody in chiropractic college or any type of faculty, please share the show with them. Let them know why we do what we do, and that we believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, and that creates the educated intelligence within man or woman also. And with that, Dr. James Taylor, your episode 665. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That was a wonderful intro.
Well, I'll say it time and time again. If people don't,
it sounded rehearsed. I'll give you that.
Well, if people don't listen to that first 2 minutes, they're never going to understand chiropractic.
Fact.
And even if they only listen to those first 2 minutes, now they have a better understanding of what chiropractic is, and they're going to start, using Google fingers and saying, hey, what is a subluxation? Hey, what is innate intelligence? I've never heard this before. What is universal intelligence? Why are they taking this out of the schools? Like that's the bigger question of why I do it, because freedom of speech and removal of truth are two reasons why this podcast does what it does. Because I just find that we're in this really strange era of information where we have so much information given to us, but the creators of information necessarily don't have good fundamentals of why they create what they do.
I mean, dude, that's an absolute fact. Like there's an absolute overabundance of information. That's for damn sure.
And now with the way that people have created like this alternate reality with, AI and deep fakes and like, I can't tell you how many times I'm just scrolling through my dumb Facebook feed and I see something that I'm like, that's not even real.
No, dude, we are definitely at a point in history right now where if you don't see it live in person, there should at least be a little inkling in the back of your mind going that might not be real.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's tell your story and let's get real with that.
Sure.
How long you been doing this chiropractic thing?
I've been doing this for just over a decade, just outside of Fort Worth, Texas.
Why did you say, hey, I'm going to go be a chiropractor? What was the impetus for you to say, I'm going to go do that job?
There's a couple of different, what's the plural of that? Impetuses, whatever. So the thought got put into my head when I was 6th or 7th grade. My dad went to chiropractic school. He went to Northwestern up in Minnesota. So that's when the thought got put in there. But I wanted to go more orthopedics, more healthcare, a hammers and chisels kind of thing. And so he graduated Northwestern. He actually never became a chiropractor. He couldn't pass part 4. But so I went off to college, and it was the first time I was an unsupervised adult. So I went to college a lot longer than you're supposed to go. And when I finally got out, dude, I just wanted to make money. So I was tired of being in school. I moved to Kansas City with a then girlfriend. Spoiler alert, that didn't work out. Also, lost my job when I was there. The day after I lost my job, I had a dentist appointment, and my dentist was right across the street from, I'm blanking on it. What was the chiropractic school in Kansas City?
Cleveland?
Yes, it was right across the street from Cleveland Chiropractic College. I walk out of the dentist, and I see a sign that says Cleveland Chiropractic. I'm like, man, that's kind of always been an idea. So I was like, well, hell, I came to Kansas City to lose a girlfriend and lose a job. Chiropractic's been in the back of my head, so let's try that. So I applied to Cleveland. I applied to Northwestern because I was familiar with that. I applied to Davenport. I got into all 3, but this was before, I thought I was special. I didn't realize all you had to do was apply. So went back to Northwestern because I was familiar with the territory, and graduated chiropractic school there November 24th, 2013, packed up the U-Haul, pointed it south on November 25th, and came down here.
So the relationship with chiropractic from 7 years old, now being 10 years into practice, your dad never became a chiropractor. How does he feel? How does he feel about you achieving the doctor degree and becoming the chiropractor and passing part 4?
Oh, I would imagine that he's proud of his son. For all intents and purposes, I think we both made our way to chiropractic as a plan, as an unattended plan B. My dad was in the Army. He got out of the Army, busted his knee up in there. He became a nurse, and he was a nursing director. And then he's like, hey, I got the GI Bill. Chiropractic seems kind of cool. So he attempted that. And like I said, he couldn't pass part 4. I wanted to go into orthopedics or healthcare, and I wanted to do it because I liked their method of work. Like I said, it was hammers and chisels to me. And instead, I didn't concentrate on my studies and moved to halfway across the country. Life kind of blew up in my face. So I also fell into chiropractic as a plan B. Like, it was not an intention in either of our minds. But hell, it's worked out pretty damn well for me.
So let's get a bit controversial. You cool with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do chiropractors take board exams? Do you think that it's necessary, in your opinion, to do 4 parts of exams after you complete your chiropractic degree?
Potentially. I'm not a fan of them personally. I'm more from a philosophical standpoint. And I think the driving point for me is the absurd cost. Like, if it was truly about the information, it wouldn't cost so damn much money. It was truly about, hey, do you have this information in your head? Cool. Then just prove it to us. Then you can go. But hey, do you have this information in your head? Yeah, I do. Okay. Give us a couple grand and prove it to us. That's where you lose me.
Yeah, because I believe they created like a secondary business out of the education department, and it should have never done that.
Fact.
But somebody out there was like, hey, if we have them do this, we can create a secondary income stream that doesn't even need to really exist, but we're going to do it anyways.
Right.
And that's why I like a lot of the early philosophy, like with Reggie Gold, when he was like, you finish a chiropractic degree, you're a chiropractor. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing with this? Proving to these medical examiners that we're playing ball with them. And
yeah, I'll tell you right now, we damn sure don't need a physiotherapy board exam for an absolute fact.
See, that's what I was hoping for you to say.
Yeah.
Let's talk about practice growth.
Yeah.
Off camera, we were talking about how you got to where you are, where you're 93% cash,
Yep.
and that you grew your practice to 7 figures. How did you do that?
The hard way. There's this, I'll tell you right now, I could have done this faster and easier, like way faster and way easier if I knew then what I know now. The first coach I had, I'll tell you right now too, I would not be where I am without him. But basically it was, you put your head down and you grind. And there's an absolute aspect of that in growing any kind of business. I don't think it's exclusive to chiropractic in and of itself. But I don't know if it was an overarching theme or maybe just an underlying theme. It was somewhere in his theme, if you will, that it's something that's to be done alone. It's to be done within the four walls of your office. Because I distinctly remember, like, hey, I've got this business here in town. I've got this business here in town that I think that we could work well together. And he said, don't do it. And I said, why not? He goes, because if you put one person's brochure in your office, then you have to put everybody's brochure in your office. And then turns out now, like, no, you don't. Like, why is that guy's brochure there? Because I like that guy. I work with that guy. That's fine. But yeah, it's just keeping your head down, nose to the grindstone. Just like I canvassed my neighborhood. I knocked on doors. I did spinal screen. Dude, I hate spinal screenings. I hate spinal screening. It's such an absolute waste of time. I think it serves a wonderful disservice to the budding chiropractor who wants to look any type of professional.
Yeah, I feel everything you're saying there. We've already kind of debunked the boards. Let's talk about coaching. You said you learned a great deal from your first coach.
Yep.
Let's talk about the coaching industry as a whole when it comes to chiropractic. How many coaches are there? This is funny to me. How many coaches are there and how many chiropractors are there?
It's probably 50-50. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. I don't want to. I want to, but I don't want to. No, it's someone opens a practice and they do halfway decent, and they probably do it in the same manner that I just described. They do it with their nose to the grindstone. They might got a couple of key relationships here and there, and they've got a practice, growth chart that looks like this, and whatever metric they want, whether it be patient visit or collections, those are probably going to be the top two. And they might have a little dip in there, but what happens is they get up to like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they're like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. And they're like, I'm going to coach people. The issue is that they've never had that happen in their chart. Okay. They've never had a down year, or, maybe they've never experienced really adversity outside of the adversity of just building an office, building a practice. And then they're like, hey, I think I'm pretty good at this. I'm going to go tell other people how great I am. And what they haven't done is they haven't taken the time to, one, face adversity, but two, more often than not, probably do some self-study, because all they're going to do is peddle the same garbage that their previous coach was telling them.
So let's talk clarity then. If you were to refer somebody to a chiropractic coach, who do you send them to?
I would go one of two places right now. I would go, if they're new in practice, I would go Winter's Edge. I would go Tori Robeson. From what I've seen, I don't think there's a better coach out there or coaching group to help somebody get started in practice. If they are in practice, they've kind of got, they're more than, well worn behind the ears. I don't even know if that's how the saying goes. But if they're looking to scale their practice, I would go Black Diamond Club, Sean Dillon, Lacey Book.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Yeah, it's cool to hear where the influence comes from and where the rubber meets the road. And I think it's great that you found people that you can refer to, because, like I said, and I laughed. Like, I rarely laugh on Chiro Hustle, but I'm like, this is going to be good. How many coaches are there, and how many chiropractors are there? I bet that it's about an even game.
But I mean, the thing is too, like, even though these people, and I'm sure this is true from more than just them, but I know for a fact that there are people that are taking Winner's Edge material, passing off as their own. I know there's people taking TRP material, remarkable practice. Like, I've dabbled, I've experienced some of their clients. I haven't experienced their coaching, but I've heard great things. And I guarantee somebody in TRP has taken their stuff and now started their own thing, is passing off on their own. And what they're doing is they're just taking the stuff from these people who have worked very hard to accumulate all this knowledge, and then also have accumulated this knowledge in the failures of it. And they're putting it out there as their own, white labeled piece of garbage, but they don't know what happens if that stuff fails because they haven't experienced the failure.
So, yeah, I think Franzen's done something really great too. And, Franzen was coached too. And there were people that poured into him to become who he is. So I don't think there's anything new under the sun. People just get a new logo made and they come up with their own process, and they take it and kind of Frankenstein their own thing. Fact. But I think almost everybody learned from somebody. They got mentorship from someone else. They took a course. They got into a mastermind. They took 5 things from the mastermind. They took 5 things from their coaching group. They took it Facebook posts. And then they Frankenstein this thing together. And now they call it their thing. And then they get 10 people underneath them, and now they don't have to practice anymore.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that person who's doing that Frankenstein conglomeration of chiropractic garbage, is that person still getting coached? Are they still practicing what they're preaching? Would you go to a chiropractor who doesn't get adjusted? Hell no. Are you getting coached by a coach who doesn't get coached?
Yeah, and people are. I just think that this is a fun conversation about this profession, because I knew coming into this, it was going to be a back and forth with you, and you're going to have a great viewpoint on a lot of these topics that I talk about. And a lot of the topics I talk to chiropractors about, I'm very stoic with. I just want them to tell their story so their friends and family and colleagues can listen to it, and their patients can listen to it. And then when somebody searches for them on the Google, that they can find them through Chiro Hustle. And I think that it's a good way for people to get an introduction to the doctors that I interview, which, because our SEO is so strong, generally when people search for people within the chiropractic name and the person, they find Chiro Hustle because our SEO is strong. They don't find the doctor's website. That's probably second or third on the list. So it's really cool that when people do search for the doctors we interview, they find our show first.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to tell the chiropractic truth, you might as well make sure that we're the North Star where people get the information from, right?
Can't argue with that.
So 7 figures, man. I know that a lot of chiropractors want to peacock at the seminars, and they walk around and talk about how good their clinic's doing. And you say you went knock on doors, you did spinal screenings, which you hate. And then how are you sustaining that today, 10 years into the game?
Not to be cliche, but like referrals. But more importantly, referral partnerships, like the collaborations. Like one of the questions you ask, you're like, hey, what do you do for like marketing and stuff? I do the things that I want to do. And then the people that are at those things, I tell those people I'm a chiropractor. So like I go to ball games, I go to rugby games, I go to, I do this Texas, like barbecue. So I go to barbecue restaurants. And then when I'm there, I talk to those people because I'm obviously at a place that I like to be at. So at least I know one thing for a fact. The other person that's there, he and I or she and I have at least one thing in common. We like baseball. We like barbecue. We like rugby. So, hey, we can work off of that. Because when I was growing this, so like right now, like I see on average, probably about 100 less patients a week than I did at this time 2 years ago, but I'm making the same amount of money. The reason being, the people who like me will pay me. And the people who like me, there's a really good chance I like them. So I'm having a lot easier time in practice now because I go to places that I already like. So there's a good reason that the people there are probably people I'm also going to like and like working with.
So I have a couple follow-ups to this. So what happens when somebody shows up to your practice and you're like, bro, you're not a good fit here? What do you do?
Oh, I dismissed a patient a half an hour before this interview started.
Because I know a lot of people are like so like hungry for growth that they'll take anybody.
And you know what? When you're starting, you kind of have to, kind of. Now, when I was starting, I was like everybody else, and I took all comers. Like one of my most embarrassing moments in practice is my first year. I had somebody tell me that they're going to sign on to a care plan, and then I just got to go home and get my card, and they never came back. And I sent him an email, and I asked him what I did wrong. And to this, like it is, I remember sending that email and the embarrassment with the same vivid detail that I remember 9/11. It was sad. Like it was sad that I did that. But at the same time, like when you're starting, you got to kind of take all comers in a sense. Cause like I say kind of, but you need to, just like you need the first person to sign on or pay in full or do whatever, you need the first patient to come in the door. You need firsts. You need a first dismissal. You need a first, hey, this isn't working out. You need a first, there's the door.
Yeah. And I think, as you talk about that is all relationship. So whether you go into the ball game or the barbecue place or the rugby group, let's talk about that relationship, because I know that that's something that matters to you. And you've been with the Jackals down there. Yep, you got the ball right there. You've been at the Jackals now for 2 years. How's that relationship to help you grow your practice?
For all intents and purposes, I don't think there's been any direct correlation. Dude, I do because I love rugby. It's such, there is no community like the rugby community. I was fortunate enough to have a teacher come to my school when I was in high school and start a rugby team. And I don't know if you can tell, I got one, I'm kind of competitive, two, I'm kind of cocky. And as a sophomore in high school, I was like, if I don't make varsity, I'm not playing for baseball. Well, guess what? I didn't make varsity, so I stuck to my word. I didn't play. And I had this other guy comes like, hey, you should come out for rugby. I'm like, I've never heard of it. He goes, well, you know how you're a lineman in football? I said, yeah. He goes, well, you can do that in rugby, but you got to carry the ball. Oh, hell yeah. Sweet. So I stuck with rugby all through college. I ended up being a player coach in college. Did a little like men's club stuff in chiropractic school. I still dabble here, but that's one of the ways that I started my practice when I came down here. I love rugby. There's more rugby teams per capita in DFW than any other metroplex in the nation. So I sent each one of them a letter and said, hey, I'm a rugby playing chiropractor, a chiropractor playing rugby, whatever. I will treat everybody on your team for free. And I will take anyone that you refer to me and I will give them a discount. And I will take a portion of what they pay me and donate it back to your club. So I did that for every rugby team around here. And now at this point, I sponsor and work with every rugby team in DFW, including the Major League one.
I love this conversation. It's honestly, dude, I've done this for 7 years. It's one of my favorites because the guys that started my career, Palmer rugby guys.
Hell yeah.
Those are the guys that like saw me bartending and said, hey,
when did you go to Palmer?
I didn't go to Palmer. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So
one of my former teammates up at UW Eau Claire was a rugby coach at Palmer, Joe Lippert, if anyone has had the pleasure to play with him or know him.
No, but I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. So
okay.
Palmer was always in my hometown.
Fair.
So I met a lot of guys that were going through chiropractic college between my 20s and 30. And during this time, my buddies who I'd go out with all the time were the guys that were going to Palmer.
Yeah.
So one of my buddies opened up a practice in Chicago. He was playing rugby at Palmer, and he's like, hey, help me come open up my office in Chicago. I was like, bro, I don't know anything about chiropractic except when I get adjusted, I feel better.
There we go.
He's like, perfect. I'll teach you everything else you need to know. So anyways, that was 16 years ago. So Thank you, Matthew Walker. Thank you, Fred Schofield. Thank you for the old boys at Palmer for getting me going. You guys
awesome.
they never knew that they were going to release the Kraken.
Perfect. So then you know full well about the community and culture of rugby, dude. It's like none other.
Yeah, these guys do anything for me.
Yeah.
Like if I say I need something, they're always there. I'm actually one of the only people that's a non-DC in the old boys group, on the private Facebook group and the Rugby Alumni Association group. Like I'm probably one of 5 people that's not like married to one of them that's in that group. So it's always nice to have those guys as resources.
And dude, I'll tell you what too, like my wife will swear up and down she feels no safer anywhere than she does with a group of rugby guys.
Yeah. And they're just always willing to do the work.
Precisely.
And honestly, I tell anybody that like ever is looking for a chiropractor to find a Palmer rugger because they know how to adjust. I'm just telling you, man, like the chiropractic community that comes from rugby, those guys know how to adjust. So
I would believe that all day long. Northwestern didn't have a team when I was there, but I would believe that wholeheartedly.
Well, they're bigger guys, they're athletes, and they adjust each other. So if you've ever been to a pie house party, yeah, they definitely know. There's like 10 tables around. So
perfect.
Really cool. But let's talk about a couple more topics. I know you have your own podcast. I want to talk about that, but mentorship. I know that that's something that's really important to you. Why have you found that mentorship is something that you want to focus on as your career goes?
Because I mean, it's you need other perspectives. You absolutely do. And like one of the things, like I put a couple notes on the questions you gave beforehand. One of the things I would love to encourage people in seeking mentorship in the chiropractic space is to look for mentorship outside of the chiropractic space. Because one of the issues with the current available pool of chiropractic mentors is the quality. Once you get past the good ones up top, understandably so, is so diluted, right? And so it's basically the large majority of the mentors available that make themselves available don't need to be available, right? The people, it's kind of like the thing, the guy who'd be the best president for the country isn't running for president. The guy who would be the best mentor isn't telling you that he wants to be your coach. And hell, the guy that could be the best mentor might not even be a chiropractor.
Yeah, I feel this role a lot. I can't tell you how many times I get a question from chiropractors on anything. And I just feel like I have like a skill set and a toolkit that's different than anybody else out there. And I'm not a chiropractor, but I guide a lot of people to the right places. And
yeah, I mean, there's so many people, like, again, there are plenty of people who want you to listen to them, but they're still spewing the same stuff that has kept us at 8%. Like, no, it's not working, man.
I know that blows a lot of people's minds that are going to be watching this, but why do you think that we've only gotten to 8%?
Man, I would say it's unprepared for this question. So just speaking off the cuff, I'm going to say a good chunk of it is purely ego driven. It would go back to that, you get the 1 or 2 people in a chiropractic coaching group, if you will, that starts to succeed. And then they just split off and they do their own thing. So it's just this just weird echo chamber of we're just passing the buck down the road of the same garbage. A chiropractor will have 300 people in their group. They'll have 1 or 2 get to 7 figures. And then those 2 will come off and they'll start their own group and they'll gain 200 or 300 people. They'll have 1 or 2 get to 7 figures. So it's just that self-perpetuation. And then, man, it's just the ego thing, man. It's just straight up the egomaniacal infighting of chiropractors. One of the things, again, in setting up for the interview here, like what advice would you give a new student? I would say turn off all notifications to any Facebook chiropractic groups. Don't pay attention to them or partake in them unless you need something from them. Otherwise, you're just going to be inundated with just absolute garbage.
Yeah. So what's it going to take to us to get to a 10%, a 12%, a 15%? What is it going to take the chiropractors to get to that direction?
I mean, in my perspective, you got to put sounds so cliche, but like literally you got to put yourself out there, but not put yourself out there and like, hey, everybody look at me, but put yourself out there and like take ownership in the awesome stuff that you're doing in your office. Like I feel like there are plenty of people that witness chiropractic miracles on a daily or weekly basis and don't tell enough people about them. But we compare our miracles to fucking Harvey Lillard. Like I haven't cured anybody's deafness, but I did have a woman who was under care for a good couple of months, and then she vanished. Like, where'd she go? She didn't answer our phone calls or nothing. And then 3 months later, she came back in. She used to be on oxygen and a walker and all this garbage. She came back in, and I'm like, Nancy, where have you been? It's great to see you. And she goes, I've been in my backyard. I'm like, what do you mean you've been in your backyard? She goes, when I came to you, I had this, that, and the other. Again, oxygen, just tremendously out of shape. And she goes, there were 3 steps. So in Texas, there's no basements here, right? Everything's laid out on a slab. At her back door, she'd slide her screen door open, and there was 1, 2, and the 3rd step was the grass. And she like, I was so afraid to go down those 3 steps that I didn't go into my backyard until I came to see a chiropractor. You helped me. Dr. Taylor, I haven't seen you for 3 months because I spent the summer in my backyard. That's a chiropractic miracle. And that's what people aren't telling because they don't feel that that's good enough because they didn't cure somebody's deafness. They didn't help somebody have a baby. They're just like, no, dude, you get to help people live life. You get to help people express everything that's inside here out into the world in front of them. And they're so scared to do that. And when you help someone do that, you're scared to tell them because it's not as great as, deafness or something.
I love this interview, bro. Like it's good for me to ask these tough questions to you. Because I know you could handle it. Honestly, a lot of times I get onto this microphone and I feel like I have to put like, what do I want to call them? When you go bowling and you put like bumpers,
the bumpers.
Yeah. I feel like I let people like rip it, but I always keep like, the bumpers on the gutters. So people don't people don't totally like throw a gutter ball. But I just knew because I've been following you also that I could like have a really like deep question set with you that we could like go down
that, man.
We could go down some pathways that a lot of chiropractors I don't feel like could go down there with me. So I was really looking forward to today's episode. No, for real. And then
Pitter pat.
James, and then podcasting. Let's jump on that topic.
Yep.
I know you have your own. Why are you podcasting out of all the things you could be doing?
I wanted to use a different part of my brain. Like that's what it was. So 3 years ago, I had a brand new office. Halfway through that first year, I bought it. Then at the end of that first year, it flooded. Right before that whole thing happened, I was like, hey, I want to start a podcast. I want to use a different part of my head. I want to I want to share things the way I'm sharing things with you here. Like, just, hey, here's my perspective on stuff. But the thing is, like, there's nothing for sale on there. Like, I'm not selling it. Like, somebody asked me once, like, why are you doing the podcast? Like, I want people to want me to coach them, but I don't want to be a coach. So this is just a way for me to vent. This is a way for me to explain the awesome things that I've done and the shitty things that have happened and kind of mesh how you can maybe do those awesome things and maybe not do the shitty things. But also, like I said, just a way for me to get stuff off my chest. And then what I can do is I can take local people here in DFW who have built successful businesses and give them a platform to say, I told you I could do it. And that's really fun to see. My best video on there, the one that's got the most interaction and the most views on TikTok is damn near at 1 million views. Is this bearded plumber telling about how he quit his job. Like it's fantastic. And he is stoked. He still comes in here every other week. Goes, you see what my views are at? You see what my views? Yeah, dude, big beard. Hell yeah. They love you.
Yeah. And that's the thing about podcasting. I never did this for myself per se. And one of my favorite, people out there, a lot of people love him today, is Alex Hormozy.
Mhm.
And when he closes out his videos, he's like, "Hi, my name is Alex. I have nothing to sell you." And I picked that up as my closing remarks when I close out my talks at different chiropractic conferences now. And I love it because when you tell people you have nothing to sell them, they want something from you.
That's fair.
It's almost like reverse psychology.
Yeah, right, man.
I can't tell you how many times I close out a talk and somebody comes up to me and they're like, "How do I work with you?" I'm like, I just told you I have nothing to sell you.
Yeah, but I would like to buy 30 minutes of your time. What's that cost? No, dude, book
Yeah,
a
but
podcast episode. I'll give you 30 minutes.
yes. So anyways, I really value the conversation today. I think that we opened a lot of eyes to people when it comes to coaching. We are really raw and direct when it comes to why mentorship is the way that it is, and the growth of this profession. We got a chance to talk about some philosophy. We got a chance to talk about how to grow a practice. Got a chance to share a miracle story. At this juncture in today's interview, is there anything I didn't ask you that I sent you questions for that you'd like to touch on?
No, not particularly. I like that question as a closer too.
Well, with that, this is episode 665 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Dr. James Taylor, thanks for being my guest today.
No problem, man. I appreciate you, James.
Yeah, man. Let's just keep this fire going. If you guys made it this far into this interview and you love it, share the show. Share it to some students that need to hear about chiropractic truth. Share it to some coaching groups that need to hear about chiropractic truth, and get this message out there to more people. And I always close out by telling you guys, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.
See ya. Thanks, James.
For sure. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.